Hey, good morning, everybody. I want to start the show off today with some encouragement for those people that are possibly going to lose their SNAP benefit. A lot of people are very dependent on that, especially families, to get through these holidays and get through the winter. We're going to talk a little bit about on that. And we are live. It is October 28th, 2025. And so before we get into the Shining Girls Decode, what's in the title, we have to cover at least one headline, and then I want to talk about these SNAP benefits. Now, apparently the channel has downshifted, so to speak. It always happens during this time change. So the first thing I want to ask you guys, is the time for the morning show okay? Because I think what happens, we lose a lot of people when the time change switches over. And so let me know what your thoughts are about that briefly in the comment section. Do you want to go an hour earlier or an hour later? Would that help more people show up to the live shows? And so I'd appreciate your feedback on that. Now, let's get into this SNAP benefits and what's going on. If there was ever a reason to understand how the right-left paradigm works and to finally come out of it, to finally stop giving your power and energy to one side or the other, it would be this whole government shutdown, this whole SNAP debacle. Of course, everyone's heard the clips. Trump's been on record in previous administrations saying any president who allows a government shutdown is a loser. And yet here we are, and everyone's forgotten that he said that. And here we are again, and they're blaming the other side. Each side blames the other side. It's not just the Republicans or Trump blaming the Democrats. The Democrats do the same thing. And all this is about is fear. This was planned. This was planned to happen during the holidays to put you in the most amount of fear as possible, to get you distracted. Because guess what? If your SNAP benefits are going to be cut off, you're not going to care what Trump's doing in Venezuela. You're not going to care that the Epstein files have still not been released. You're not going to care about any of that stuff, because all you're caring at that point is what you're going to eat, right? And I can imagine that our little community that we have here might be weighted slightly higher with people who receive SNAP benefits. So I didn't want to ignore this, but it's the same story, you guys. It's the same story. It's nothing new. We already knew that these government people, this is what they do. They don't care. They get their paycheck, or they don't need it because they've already gamed the system to make their millions. So they don't need their paycheck, And so they're going to use us as pawns against each other. They're going to use it when it's convenient, to use it as a distraction, to threaten you and coerce you. That's what this is. And get you on your heels so that you just don't care about truth anymore. All you care about is surviving. This is why we have to try to get out of their system, so that we're not in that fight or flight mode and we're not fodder for their manipulation. Because that's exactly what it is. It's narcissistic gaslighting and manipulation. Trump is claiming to care about the people on SNAP benefits, but does he really? He's been on record saying he's going to put people back to work who are on these benefits, and he doesn't believe they should be getting these benefits, and threatening the whole time. But now all of a sudden he's like, oh, the poor people on SNAP. It's the Democrats. They're the ones. They don't care about the poor people on SNAP. Oh, well, that's not what his tune was a year ago. So all you got to do is not get time-nesia, look back, see the duality of even the basic statements these people make, and it will open your eyes to the truth. What is the answer? Non-participation. You don't give these people any power or fuel any more than you're required to by their beast system, which forces you to do things through threats of violence, through threats of taking your property and finding you out of existence. And once they have pretty much zero power, they're going to have to enforce the power, right? And you can't enforce that on 300 million people very easily and efficiently. This is why they're trying to develop the beast system, the electronic system, the surveillance system, because they realize that they don't have any more power. They realize that we have the power. So how are they going to equal out the balance out the power? They're simply going to use electronics and AI and surveillance to equal everything out. That's why they're pushing so hard for it, so that there will be no resistance. And you in your heart, this is all true. But sometimes we get stuck in the emotional right-left paradigm and we forget all this stuff, right? Now, here's a very important headline. Then we'll get into Shining Girls, because I can't wait to show this to you guys. Wow. So Venezuela is now claiming that they captured CIA operatives. I put that in quotes here. And this is crazy. What did they catch them doing? In the middle of a false flag. What? Let's read. Venezuelan government has claimed it has captured a group of mercenaries with ties to the CIA amid spiraling tensions with Washington. The regime of Nicolas Maduro, the Venezuelan president, claimed the men were carrying out a false flag operation from waters close to Trinidad and Tobago. Now, you probably haven't heard this news. I didn't see any of the other truth channels covering this yesterday or last night. It's somewhat breaking. Of course, there will probably be pushback from the Trump administration saying this is fake or just a story. But let's keep reading here because there may be some truth to this. It says the aim was to generate full-scale military confrontation against Venezuela. No other details were released, and the identities of the supposed mercenaries were not revealed. The U.S. has amassed 10,000 troops in the region. The USS Gravely, a guided missile destroyer, arrived in the port of Spain, where it's taking part in training exercise with Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. The White House said the exercises were part of the efforts to stop drug trafficking. But Maduro claims that they are being carried out under the coordination, financing, and control of the U.S. Southern Command, referring to the Florida base. In the statement, Caracas likened the exercises to Gulf of Tonkin incident near Vietnam in 1964, which preceded the U.S. invasion of an Asian nation, and called them a hostile provocation and grave threat to the peace of the Caribbean. So, were they caught red-handed trying to implement a false flag? Well, history tells us they may have been. We can't completely rule this out. Gulf of Tonkin was one incident in which that actually happened, and there were many others. So this all remains to be seen. Meanwhile, tensions are rising as we also realize that Venezuela's number one partner is Russia. They just entered a strategic partnership not too long ago, tend to expand their cooperation in areas of energy, mining, transport, and security. So why would Russia do this if they are not going to come to the defense of Venezuela when the time comes? Unless Venezuela has been betrayed by Putin and China. That's not beyond the realm of possibility either. But this is weird, you guys. Why would Putin enter into this strategic agreement for energy and then do nothing about what the United States is doing? This is pretty strange, you guys. Now, let me check in with you. And then we're going to get into a 2022 TV series called Shining Girls. Now, this has to be one of the better series that I've decoded in a while. It was off the chain. I would rate this series about an 8 out of 10 in terms of how good it was. It stars the woman from The Handmaid's Tale. She is the star of this TV series, but with a completely different vibe, kind of a supernatural vibe, a time travel vibe, and all kinds of other stuff that shockingly relates directly back to Donald Trump. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't expecting to find that, but I'm going to show you evidence today that links this TV series back to Donald Trump on many, many levels that I couldn't even believe myself. Things we'd already covered, patterns we'd already established on this channel connected to Donald Trump. So now let's get started. This is it here. The Shining Girls. And the thumbnail is a series of staircases, spiral square staircases going down into the depths of this building. Now this is significant because what you're looking at here is the portal. The whole series centers around a house that for some reason is the location of a portal through time. Now, they don't go into too much detail about the house and its origins, but it exists and people go in and out of the house. Only a select few who are aware and have knowledge of this portal, and they wreak havoc through time. Now, we know that demons have been hopping through bodies down through time. We know this to be the case. Why? And I'll just briefly summarize this for some people who are probably shocked to hear that there's some truth to time travel. We've covered this in the past that, these demons who did not have bodies or disembodied spirits, we read about them in the New Testament. This is biblical. And they inhabit the bodies of animals as well as people. And these demons, Jesus would exorcise them out of people. This is all in the Bible. But then they could jump into other bodies and other animals. And there was one particular incident in which Jesus was conversing with this demon. Now, demons do not have time. They do not have timelines, or not timelines, but they do not have ages. They survive down through the ages, probably post-flood, is what many people believe, that these demons are disembodied spirits from the flood era. And therefore, their end time will be the end of all time. In other words, they can't age because they're a spirit, right? They're stuck here under the firmament. So what they do is they hot bodies down through time. Now, the core principle of this channel and the core research that we've discovered is that this goes back to ancient Egypt. The Egyptians were preparing those bodies for the end times. This is what they were doing. This was the whole purpose of the canopic jars, the black goo. They're basically DNA that they could reanimate a body and then fill it with the demonic spirit down at the end times. And this is what I believe all of the kings that we have now are. They're essentially reanimated pharaohs with being the vessel for the demonic spirit. This is what I think is happening. Now, I don't know this to be true, but this is what the research has led us to believe. And therefore, we've all been deceived by these leaders, these world leaders. Now, Jesus had a particular incident in which, let me go in the chat and talk with you guys as I'm explaining this to you before we get into these screenshots. There was an incident in which Jesus went to basically exorcise a demon out of a man who was like bleeding or something, if I remember correctly. And the demon says, "It is not yet the appointed time." So the demon knew the timeline. He said, "This isn't the end because you just got here. We got another 2,000 years. Now, nobody knows the day or the hour. But in our research, one of the last things Jesus said to his apostles was, "Go prepare for the Passover in the upper room. Find the man carrying the water jug." That would be Aquarius. We are on the edge of Aquarius right now. Now, if you don't believe in astrology, I understand, because I do not either. But understand that the constellations were named by God himself. In the book of Job, Arcturus is named. In the book of Job, the Pleiades are named, and Orion is named. And so therefore God gave these heavenly bodies names. And he told them, Jesus told his disciples to go to the upper room, that would be the sky, to prepare for the Passover, which is the end of time, which is in Aquarius, the man bearing the water jug, which is a spirit. It's when we enter the spirit, because no flesh can enter heaven. Now, that's about as far as I take these signs in the heavens. You're not allowed to live your life by these signs. That is, in my opinion, demonic, because the demons can manipulate all that, right? There are people that choose mates based on signs. I think all that's from the demon realm. But God named the constellations. He put them in the sky. And he even predicted how they would behave, because he's God. In Job, it says, "Who can loose the belt of Orion? Who can bind the Pleiades?" Well, guess what? The belt of Orion, according to astronomers, these 3 stars in the belt of Orion are moving together. He has bound or tightened the belt of Orion. Job is the oldest book in the Bible. How is this known? How is this known? Well, because he's God. He's the Most High. It proves it. And even in the discussion that God is having with Job, he's saying to him, "I'm the one that created all this." And the glory of God is through his creation. So he's literally saying to Job, look, about 3,000 or 4,000 years from now, scientists are going to discover that what I'm saying is true, that the belt of Orion is moving close together. Is loosening. I think I got that backwards. And that the Pleiades are moving closer together. They're binding. Who can loose the belt of Orion and who can bind the Pleiades? Pleiades are moving together, closer together. So this was known about long before there was a telescope and an amount of biblical history that could actually track this stuff. Because, okay, someone could say, oh, well, Casey, there must have been telescopes back then, and they had precise measurements. And somehow these ancient peoples looked up through a telescope and over the course of 3,000 years, and they tracked it from generation to generation, and they saw that the belt of Orion was loosening and the stars were moving apart. And that's how that was put in the Bible. Well, that, to me, that's the stretch. That's the stretch. Makes a lot more sense that our Creator knew this because he made it and he wrote it down in the book of Job. Now, why are we talking about all this? Well, without getting into too much detail, each section of the Bible is represented in the heavens. It's an age of the world. Now, how could that be? Well, because God knew. He knew the different phases and chapters of the whole world from the beginning and the end. That's why he's called the Alpha and the Omega. He already knew. So creation is set to essentially mirror what's in the stars. Now, what am I talking about? Part of the name of this channel, I believe, probably has something to do with this. I didn't quite know what I was getting at when I named the channel in 2012 because I was just kind of starting to wake up. But this is where you go on faith. And I was like, enter the stars. People ask, why? Well, I'm kind of explaining some of it to you today. Essentially, what God did is he placed the constellation in the sky on the horizon in a precessional manner. In other words, every 2,160 years, a new constellation would arise in the sky on the horizon at the setting sun. And each of those constellations seems to mirror everything that happened in the Bible from the beginning to the end. Job calls it the Mazzaroth, the total 88 constellations. It's called the Mazzaroth. And from the beginning, Genesis starts in Gemini. Adam and Eve, in the first 6 generations of mankind that were Geminis of one another. What are you talking about, Casey? Well, remember we looked at the acrostic on Cain's side and on Seth's side, because remember Abel was killed. Both Cain's side and Seth's side during the age of Gemini, the names are almost identical. There were 2 Lamechs. There were 2 Canaans, Canaan. There were 2 Enochs, and on and on and on. And I hope you're awake to this now because it's all starting to come together, isn't it? That was during the age of Gemini. In other words, when those first 6 generations woke up in the morning, went to bed at night, the dominant constellation on the horizon, where the sun is, was Gemini. And the rest is history. Each constellation in order. And this is why I don't want to get into too much detail because we have full studies on this because the show wasn't supposed to be about all this today. But I'm speaking off the notes today because this is very, very important for you to understand that we are at the end of the timeline. We are here. It's literally any day now or any year because we're at the end of another 2,160 year period. We're at the age of Aquarius when Jesus told them to prepare to pass over and go in the upper room and find the man with the water jug. Aquarius, we are here. This is why it's important to talk about this now. Our studies revealed that in the next 2,160 year period after Gemini, the same thing happened. It was all mirrored in biblical history. I always get these two confused, but they do follow the order. I think it was the Taurus next, and then the Aries, and then the Pisces. And it's all reflected. Why? Well, the Egyptians worshipped the golden calf, the bull. And this is what the Israelites got in trouble for, the golden calf. That would be the Taurus. And that was during that 2,000 year history. And when that crossed over, during the Exodus, after the 10 Commandments, the Israelites were required to sacrifice a lamb or a ram. That would be Aries. And that was during that particular point in history that kicked off the next 2,000-year period. And of course, we all know what the Pisces period was. That 2,000-year period was kicked off by none other than the Son of Man, Jesus Christ, who took 2 fish to feed entire crowds, whose symbol was a fish on the back of cars and license plates that is used now. The center of the Vesica Pisces is the fish, the crossover point, the narrow gate when you accept him as your savior. I hope this is making sense. The next stage, Aquarius. Now, again, if you're just tuning in, you're hearing all this talk of signs in the heavens, 12 apostles, 12 signs. I do not believe in astrology, but I believe in astronomy, and I believe God's direction where he says the heavens show his glory. And so there was a timeline he put in the sky, probably to give those hope who actually paid attention and actually read the Bible and understand what he was really getting at. Understand the pre-sessional periods of history and how they overlaid the Bible precisely, and who knew we were in the end times. Again, no man knows the day or the hour, but it doesn't mean we can't know the general time frame, the earth age in which it happens. And we see the evidence, you guys. We see the evidence. We see the rise of the beast, AI, the AI technocracy, and the entire history of mankind, the 6,000 years or so of mankind. And just in the last 100 years, we have this extreme technology, things that almost look like magic to someone who, to someone like 300 years ago, this would all look like magic, wouldn't it? There's a reason for this, and it's because we are at the end, and the beast knows it, and he's going to try and make sure that he deceives as many people as possible. Now let's get into this series here. Oh, by the way, yesterday's re-upload, we were talking about flying cars, and I said we weren't quite there yet. Well, apparently we are there. So yesterday's show was pretty amazing because I went back to before 2016 and a few years after. I think to 2018 was the window. And I told you that Trump was going to be president again. And I told you everything that was going to happen. And 9 out of the 10 things actually happened. They're now setting up infrastructure for flying cars in America. And these are the headlines about flying cars. And I'll let you get into all that. But that was something we predicted that is now happening on a real level, not just people playing around. Now, what else is going on, you guys? Let's get into the Shining Girls. Now, again, these demons are hopping through time. To them, this is time travel. Jesus exorcised the demon out of the man, but he didn't kill the demon spirit. He sent it into 2,000 pigs, which, interestingly enough, 2,000 years after that incident would be like right now. The appointed time, quoted by the demon himself. He knew there was another Earth age to go. And so this is the basis of this decode today. Understanding the timeline, understanding the symbolism in TV shows like this. And one of you recommended this TV series. I missed this one. Shining Girls. Came out in 2022. There were only 8 episodes. And this one went right over my head, but I'm glad you recommended it. And this is all about a demon hopping down through time. And he does so through a portal in the form of this house that we open the decode with. The house is timeless, and it represents a vessel of possession, really, is what it is. Almost like a person or a host body, because to a demon, the house is the person. It's how they hop through time, by hopping in and out of vessels. And then they live in the timeline, down through time. Now, the time traveler in the TV series he's on a murder spree, and he's trying to cover up his original sin. And As he kills, he slices an inverted cross onto the torso of each of his victims, and he leaves an item behind inside of them, inside their body cavity. Except one victim survives, and it's the woman it's Elizabeth Moss, this woman here, from The Handmaid's Tale. And she is the one, she's like a reporter, and she's trying to solve the murders. They go back through time, and they see these murders originating from the year 1918, the year of the flu pandemic, which again, we've found links to that in Trump as well. It's unbelievable, you guys. It goes all the way back to 1918, all the way to the present, and essentially, they piece together, they find all these inverted crosses carved onto the torsos of these women. They find like almost a dozen of them, and they realize that there's a serial killer that can hop through time. Now, let's keep going with this. Now, again, I would recommend this one, this TV series. It isn't too graphic and creepy or gory, and will give you insight into how this body hopping of demons works, because these demons are in people that we may know, which of course is something you need to be aware of. And it's absolutely inside of our political leaders, and this is why. This is how they're able to gain wealth, because they have the knowledge of how the system of wealth works. This is how they're able to have power over the rest of us. It's because they have the knowledge. Now, why am I decoding this series? Well, here's what I was not expecting to find: a solid Trump connection. The serial killer begins his spree of killing by killing a woman who works at the Church of St. Adalbert, which is the Church of the Slavs. This is the serial killer here. This is the woman from the Church of St. Adalbert, which is the Church of the Slavs. Of course, where Melania Trump is from. A little bit of a weak connection, but you'll see the rest of these connections in a minute. This woman and her husband are the original time travelers. They're the original owners of the house, and she's in possession of a digital watch, which of course, in this era of history, which is 1920, digital watches didn't exist. So the time traveler's like, this is before he takes possession of the house, of course. She's in possession of it now. He's robbing her. And his partner's name is Leo. Leo McLeod. Of course, the basis of Trump's mother's maiden name is Leo, from the Isle of Lewis. Leod, McLeod, which is the root word of Leodis. Leodis. Now, all this is already established word etymology, so I don't have to prove that to anybody. It's already in the etymology because we already found it many decodes ago. Leodis is Lewis, is the Isle of Lewis, is Leo, is McLeod, is lotus flower, ancient Egyptian. It's all the same word etymology. So Leo steals her digital watch while on his crime spree with his girlfriend, Clara. Clara. And there's that name again, Claire. It's a time-traveling name. This isn't Leo. His friend's name is Leo, but you get the drift. Leo's his best friend. Leo is stuck in the house after they steal it from this woman and her husband. He's stuck there, and only this man can get out and travel through time. Let's double back on this name, Claire, because it's important. Claire is his girlfriend. And let's see, I think I have a picture of her. This is her here. And as you can see, she's basically channeling a fallen angel here with these big black wings. She's a performer. And we found this name, Claire, years and years ago. It's a time travel name. We found the name in at least a dozen TV series and movies connected to time travel, aka demon possession. I think there's a Claire in the Back to the Future franchise. Also, Outlander, centered around Claire Fraser. Claire means clear, like a glass, looking glass, seeing into the past, maybe the future, who knows. And in this series, Shining Girls, here's Clara. She's depicted as a fallen angel. Remember, she's the girlfriend of this other guy. But she doesn't really like him. She just uses him. She's not really into him. But she's fascinated because he shows her after he steals it from the other couple, steals the house from the other couple. They live in the house and he shows her the past, present, and future. But that's still not enough for her because she's not really into him. She's kind of a free spirit. So Clara is essentially like a witch, and I believe she is essentially represents Trump's mother. Marianne McLeod, here she is here. She lived to be 88 years old. Now listen closely. This is very, very important. Look at, they even spell her name in the old Gaelic. You can see the Leo in it. Leodis. And her birthday appears in Quantum Leap, that Quantum Leap episode with Trump. It was set to 1958 when Trump was 12. He's in the back of a taxi cab. But we'll get to that in a minute. Now, where are we going with this? Gotta back up here. So, this is Leo's best friend. They have him down as John Smith, but he goes by a different name. This goes all the way. This is his ID. He worked as a butcher in 1916, and then he was drafted to World War I. So that's about how far back this whole thing goes. Now, the woman that plays Clara, because I had to look, she was born on May 1st. Beltane, the highest day of Illuminati sacrifice, and the origin of the Illuminati, and the origin of the United States. 1776. Let's take a look, you guys. Here she is, Clara Miser. Here's her birthday in real life, May 1st. Again, 1776 is when the country was founded, on May 1st. 1776 is 888 plus 888. Are you awake yet? I hope you are. Because none of this is made up. This is all very real. It might be shocking to you, all these synchronicities. But essentially, this woman was cast in this role specifically based on her birthday, the May 1st date. And I believe she is actually sacrificed in the TV series. Now, let's rewind back to this woman with the watch. This woman. Remember, this is how he takes control. There are basically a couple of crooks, and they think this woman has money. They break into her apartment. They steal the watch. And then he tracks the watch down. He tracks it back to the house. And this is where he finds all of these relics from the past and the future, and that he can't understand. He's literally seeing items from the future when he breaks into her house. And this is insane, because this solidly connects this series to Donald Trump. How? Well, watch this. They find an almanac. 1973. Now, this just so happens to be the year I was born. I was born on the 88th day of the year. No, I'm not a time traveler. But this is insane, you guys. He finds this almanac in the house from 1973. Just like Trump Biff Back to the Future found the almanac. And this is how he gets rich. He's able to bet on everything in the almanac. And it all comes true. And this is how he gains his wealth. Now, what else is going on here? So, Leo's friend uses the almanac, again, just like Biff does in Back to the Future. He becomes wealthy. They also find a pile of money in the house. And while they're in the house, they're actually confronted by the woman's husband. I believe they killed the woman in her apartment. But when they go, they find the house. And they are confronted by the husband. Now, the husband is obviously a time traveler as well. And the husband asks, "What day is it?" The husband asks, "What day is it?" And Leo's friend replies, "It's October 9th. Now, I know it's early in the morning, but listen carefully. Because we just talked about this date, October 9th, didn't we? This is the opposite of Charlie Kirk's death, isn't it? 9/10, 10/9. But the bigger connection here is Scott Bakula, who was born on the exact same date. Scott Bakula from Quantum Leap. We just covered this the day before yesterday in the re-upload about taxi cabs and Quantum Leap. Why did we cover it? Well, let me refresh your memory if you were paying attention. Because it's the 283rd day of the year in leap years with 83 remaining. And remember, I told you that was significant. 83 and 83 is 166. Again, that Trump number, the 66 number. And in that Quantum Leap episode that was set to Trump's mother's birthday, May 10th, in the opening scene, May 10th, she lived to be 88, time travel number. Trump was in the back of a taxi cab. Now, how is it that these exact dates, this exact date, October 10th, appears in October 9th appears in two different time travel movies, TV series? They have to mean something, don't they? They have to. That's not an accident. There's something about Scott Bakula's birthday that is significant, which is why he was cast in the role of the time traveler. You understand now? Do you see how all this works? That none of this is accidental? You could literally type all this into a computer and it would all, you could whiteboard it and it would probably form like patterns. Now, let's keep going because there are more connections to all this. Because of Clan MacLeod and the Scottish Claire Fraser from the series Outlander, it connects Trump solidly to Scotland and this TV series to Scotland. The Leo character. Both series, Outlander and Highlander, were about time travel, weren't they? They were about time travel. Here is Leo's friend's girlfriend. She says, "I was traveling a bit." These are little clues. And that brings us to this. Leo's friend had a black lion tattoo. Here's the screenshot here. Now, in the TV series, they track this black lion tattoo back to an army unit, which they said even went back further in time. They said this was an ancient symbol, a black lion tattoo on his chest. And this is the only way that the woman is able to identify him as the killer. It's the only way that she was able to find him. And we tracked this to Clan MacLeod's family crest. It also has a lion. Now, they're red lions, and it's in the thumbnail of today's video, but it's a lion nonetheless. The same stylized lion. You can see it in the side-by-side of today's video. I thought I had it pulled up, but I don't think I see it here. No, I did not pull that up. And then I had an epiphany. I was like, this is insane. Because in the same way that the reporter and victim in the TV series is tracking the killer by piecing together the past, this is exactly how we are tracking down these demons and what they're up to on this channel. We're looking at past, present, and future, or not the future, but the past and present. We're piecing together these little clues to identify these demonic time travelers, because they're dropping these clues all throughout these TV series and movies, and we're seeing it all play out on the world stage every single week. We're identifying things that Trump is going to do, and then like the next week he does them. It's insane. This has been going on for about a couple years now. Now, let's summarize all this, because I know this was a lot of information. Let me go back into the chat. We have the number 166, the Quantum Leap Trump Taxi Marianne MacLeod birthday connection to Scott Bakula, who was born on 83 plus 83, which is 166. We also have the taxi, which is like the house, the empty vessel, the portal. We also have the Sports Almanac Trump connection. We also have the Claire connection to time travel. We have the Leo, the MacLeod connection. We have the lion on the MacLeod coat of arms. We have the Slavic Melania connection, which were the first travelers to discover the house. It's all there, you guys. Repeated themes that we've already established in dozens of other time travel movies and TV shows. So I hope that helps you guys understand what's going on. Now, understand there were probably a lot of elements to this that I missed. Let's look up MacLeod coat of arms. Just want to show this to you. Let's see here. See, now I can't find it. Oh, here it goes. Here we go. Here are the lions. Wow, unbelievable. Insane, you guys. Insane. So, if you're just tuning in, that was from the TV series called Shining Girls. All right, I'm back in the chat, you guys. That's what I wanted to show you. Now, tomorrow we'll be back live again, and we'll be talking about more current headlines, everything going on. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Scott Bakula is in a wild movie called Lord of Illusion. Wow. I might have to take a look at that. Coat of Arms, Kitty Cats. Checked out the show Timeless. Yes, I think we decoded that. So, let's see. I'm just reading the chat, you guys. Lord of Illusion. If you never decoded that, I can't believe it. Wow. Let's look it up. $19.95. Let's see here. See if we could find any synchronicities here, just right off the bat. They sometimes cast these on certain days. Okay, let's see here. Yep, starring Scott Bakula. Clive Barker is the director, I believe. Yes. Let's look at this movie cover poster. Lord of Illusions. Spiral going down through two hands and the eyes. Prepare for the coming. Let's see here. A little live decode for you guys today. Wait. Let's see here. The Last Illusion, published in 1985, which is a short story by Clive Barker, is what it's based on. Let's see who's cast in this. Who's Kevin O'Connor? Oh, there's a Scottish connection. Don't see anything there other than that. Whoa. Do you see how we're not making any of this up? Famke Janssen, born on the 5th of November. The festival saw when time travel is possible through the standing stones of Callanish, 14 miles away from where Trump's mother was born. In the TV series Outlander, Claire Fraser travels through time on Samhain on the 5th of November. That was one of the very first episodes. And Famke Janssen was born on the 5th of November. She was literally cast into this role for this very specific purpose in her birthday. Bingo. What else? Let's see, Daniel. You can almost bet on this stuff. It's like you can almost see it before it happens. You just know. This guy died at 8 times 8, 64 years old. That might be a bit of a stretch. I'll admit when something maybe isn't a perfect synchronicity. But let's read through this plot. In the Mojave Desert, a man named William Nix, also calling himself the Puritan, has gathered a cult of disciples in an old house. He wields real magic and plans to sacrifice a girl, telling his followers he will save the world and grant them wisdom. Okay, well, I might take a look at this film, you guys. There might be something to this. So I'll take a look at this film, and then if I find anything, I'll put together some clips for you guys. So thanks for you guys mentioning that. Wow, the 5th of November. Time travel. That's when time travel was discovered in Back to the Future. When Doc Brown discovered a time travel on a toilet. Remember? And we'd found that the toilet represented the spiral unclean spirits. When the toilet flushes, it's brown and it's the unclean spirits. That's what we discovered was the hidden code behind the discovery of time travel. That's when the spirits come through the portal, the 5th of November, when the Pleiades are highest in the sky. That's the calendar marker, and it always happens very near the 5th of November. This is why it's so important not to be spiritually involved in this whole season, because it is laden with dark spiritism. Laden with it. Stay as far away from the stuff as you can, you guys, when it comes to observing and all of their little, this is why we're not supposed to be part of this world. All their little celebrations and costumes and all these things, all of this gives energy to that. This is why we have to cover it, because it shows you the ancient roots, which have absolutely nothing to do with the Most High and what he wants in your life. It's actually against him. So, Decode the movie, The Game with Michael Douglas and Sean Penn. Okay, thanks, Marcy. Yes, that's what I believe. The guy, Richard. I believe that the 5th of November, we have the new fire ceremony coming up on November 5th, 2027. The 52-year period will fall on, I think it's 2027 or 2028. So, The Prestige. I think we might have covered that one. Okay. Hmm. 52 weeks later. Yeah, there's 52 weeks in the year. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to pop off of here, you guys. I appreciate everybody showing up. Again, please put your opinions about what time we should start the show so that more people show up. That would be awesome. Usually our live shows used to get like 1,000 people watching, so I don't know what happened to everybody. The work's only gotten better and more accurate, so that tells me YouTube's not doing their job. They're not sending out the notifications to everybody. So I want to work on the time so that we can get as many people as we can tuning into the live shows in the mornings. So I want you to put all your opinions in the comments section, and whoever has the most opinions, that's what I'm going to change the time to. Okay. So if you don't want me to change the time, you need to put that in the comments as well. If you do want me to change the time, tell me what time you want, and the most popular one will be the one we go with, because that's will be the one where the most people show up. Okay. Because the channel is not growing, you guys. So I love each and every one of you, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow live again with some more headlines. Much love, everybody. Take care.